Good evening and welcome to Method in Madness. This is episode number 40. Today we are going to talk about schools and what the management thinks when they are planning to start a school, when they're planning to help their teachers, help their students, and go forward with their policies. Schools are something which we, as parents and as teachers, are very closely associated with. But do we really know what happens when somebody is planning the curriculum? Do we know what happens behind all the infrastructure that is created in the school? There's a lot of shaming that goes on, considering schools as a business. But what is it really? To talk about that, we have with us Janet Gasper Chowdhury. Janet is an MBA from XLRI School of Management, Jamshedpur. She has studied school management and leadership at Harvard Business School and strategy management at London Business School. Having spent over 20 years with Nestle, PwC, and Magma FinCorp, she now spends most of her time developing two ICSC, ISC affiliated K-12 schools, both of which feature in the top 25 schools in Kolkata. A mother of two teenagers, she also runs her own strategic HR advisory firm. She loves theater and is an avid sports person. Welcome, Janet.
Thank you, Vaishali. Very, very happy to be here.
Thank you, Janet. Janet, today we're going to talk about schools and how schools think and what really is inside the school leader's mind. We want to know more and get closer to your vision and other school leaders' vision when they start a school or when they are planning curriculums year on year. Just to let everybody know, whoever is watching us, Janet and I, we are going to talk for the next 45 minutes. And then we will ask you to ask your questions and take your questions. There is a chat box that you can see. You can join us in the conversation, during the conversation right now that we're going to have through the chat box. And we will try and pick up some comments, whichever is relevant to our conversation. Janet, let's begin.
Yeah.
I think the first question is the question, what is inside a school leader's mind? What goes on in a school leader's mind when you're trying to balance curriculum, you're trying to balance teachers, you're trying to balance students, and manage everything? What is it and how do you think?
Well, the people who run schools essentially at the heart are those who want to build citizens of tomorrow. And it's a passion. It's known that teachers are in their profession because of the passion and not because of anything else. And the greatest reward that the teachers receive is when ex-students come back and tell them about what they've done in life. It's not necessarily always a career and how successful they are, but the fact that they have grown into contributing human beings for society and the kind of individuals they've grown up to be. This itself is satisfying. And it's amazing how teachers, even after 20, 25 years, remember every student and all the little things they did in school. So personally, I was shocked to find that my own teachers remembered me by name and what I did in school in a particular year, which maybe even I had forgotten. So therefore, school leaders, at the heart of everything, they are looking to develop students, and everything that they do is for their students. And I have seen during this lockdown how teachers have learned new skills of getting online. They are not the tech savvy lot because they didn't need to be tech savvy, but they have learned how to use Google Meet, how to use Zoom, how to use YouTube, how to use Google Sheets, and what have you. They have been awake at nights and putting together a curriculum, a syllabus, because the way you teach in class and the way you teach online is very different. And I think this is the only group of people who during the lockdown were working hour after hour only for their students. So I think at the back of the mind, to answer your question in one line, it's the passion to develop children into good human beings is what is the crux of being a school leader or a principal or a school teacher or anyone associated with schools.
Right. Janet, you've had a background, in fact, a 20-year background into the corporate. You also have had the education, which is in business management and strategy. How do you bring in, as a school leader, bring in that experience into developing your schools right now? And does it really help to bring in a philosophy, an ideology, which is management or business oriented, into this spectrum of planning?
Well, I definitely think this helps. Not necessarily the 20 years in corporate, but having a management orientation and having that administrative exposure does make a very, very big difference. And I have personally seen that those who run schools are primarily people who've been teachers for 20, 25 years. And they come from a different background and a different passion. And they're the most brilliant teachers. They are very, very good with children and how to help them. But administration is a different ball game. You need to have strategy. You need to know process. You need to do measurement and evaluation. Those are the hard aspects of running an organization. So just the way you have groups of people who run an organization, which is either IT or telecom or FMCG, there are certain processes that need to be in place. You need to have a business plan. You need to have a way to execute it. You need to measure it. You need to have feedback. And I find that the education sector are not very strong on this second aspect. And it's not because, the individuals are not good in it. It's just that their experience has not been in that area. And so I feel that it's really important. And that's where I contribute. And my husband, who's also a management grad, where we contribute is we bring in these aspects of process management. We bring in these aspects of measurement, of putting targets, of giving numbers to very fuzzy things and making them more concrete. And that is what helps you achieve, because unless you have milestones, you will not achieve. So the best of schools who will just go with the flow, will do well, but will possibly take time. But those who put milestones and achieve them and bring in this administrative feel, I feel that, the route to the top or the route to success would be faster and in a more structured way.
Right. You say that the core of the thought process while leading a school is definitely passion. But what comes after that? What are the different other ideas that surround passion, that help that passion grow and become a discipline?
So I would say structure and process. So my passion would be to run the school, and to contribute and enrich students, children and students. But you need to put a structure around it. How do you go about it? So one is a people structure. So you have a principal and you have head and you have the various coordinators at various levels, and you have teachers and you have a whole lot of academic structure. But they have to be supported by administrative structure, technology structure, and HR structure. And unless you have that structure together, teachers alone cannot deliver. They need to have the admin setup, the infrastructure. They need to have technology. That's really important. So that's the structure part. The other part is the process. So if you want to teach children and you want to have a certain outcome, how do you achieve that outcome? And lesson plan is something teachers are taught in their B.Ed or TTC. But today there is just so much media available. So you have to have a process by which you can bring in learning and make it interesting for children.
Mm.
So the entire process of learning, the entire process of achieving the objective and making sure that the child learns, I think these are the two things of structure and process that we on the management side try to put in place. Because once that's put in place, it's very easy to follow and achieve objectives. And it does take a long time to do it, because I would say the entire school is not one unit. Children
Mm.
in primary, from nursery to class 1, have one kind of orientation, mindset, and learning requirements. Students from class 2 to class 5 have a different set. Class 6 to class 8 are yet different, and class 9 to 12 is different. So you have to have a differential approach to each one of these areas, dealing not only with teachers, with students, but even parents. There is a huge
Mm.
transition of how parents behave in each of these areas. And all of that needs to be managed.
Yeah, that brings me to the next point, which is parents. Where do parents come in? And how do you think schools should involve parents into their strategy? Is there a way?
Of course, most definitely. The first thing that I would like to establish, that the relationship is not school versus parent. Never. The school is an extension of what the parents want to build in a child.
Hmm.
And vice versa is also true. Whatever the school is teaching, the parents are an extension. So we actually try to call our parents as co-teachers, because that's what they do at home. And during this lockdown, where the children are at home and struggling with online classes, it's the parents who are stepping
Hmm.
in place of the teachers. So here I would like to elaborate a little bit on the metamorphosis of parents from nursery to class 12, and how schools and parents can actually work together.
Hmm.
So when the children are really young, at that time, the parents put them into school, and all teachers know that the parent is putting their most precious possession in their care. And every teacher looks at every child that way. Even if parents don't want to believe it, yes, every teacher looks at a child as a diamond, as the most
Hmm.
precious possession. And when the children are in pre-primary, at that time there's a different relationship with parents, where the parents, put the child in the care. They have a good relationship with the junior teachers, and the children are also enjoying, but they're really little. So whatever they do, they come back. There's a lot of interaction between parents and teachers. When
Hmm.
the child moves to class 2 and is in the bracket from 2 to class 5, at this time, the children start talking. The children start giving feedback to the parents. And the parents are very inquisitive, and they ask, what happened in school today? What did you do? How did this happen? So the curiosity of the parents grows. The child gives feedback, whether positive or negative, that depends on what happens. And this
Hmm.
is the stage where most parents feel that my child is an Einstein, or my child is Sachin Tendulkar. No one can be better than my child.
Hmm.
And that's where a little bit of conflict begins. When the
Hmm.
teachers try to say something and the parents say something else. And this is really a very difficult age to manage, you know and it's difficult to deal with parents who always feel that, no, my child is right, what I'm giving my child is too good, and the school is not
Hmm.
giving my child adequate attention. So it's
Hmm.
a difficult stage. When you come to class 6 and 8, the child is trying to establish their own independence. And there's a different set of friction that happens. And the parents at that time also feel that the school is not good enough, or that, my child was so brilliant in class 1 and 2 and getting straight A's, and suddenly my child is getting 40 and 50%. There's something wrong in the school. So there's a
Hmm.
different mindset. But when you come to class 9 and 12, the child has asserted independence, and more often than or not, they do not allow the parents to come in the forefront.
Yeah.
And when I held a workshop in my own school For children in class 12, we run a program called Future Ready, where we ready them for college.
Hmm.
I asked some of the kids that, why don't you all help your parents get onto Facebook or get onto WhatsApp or, Twitter or whatever. The kids said, oh, no, ma'am, no, we can't do that because then the parents will be seeing what we're doing on social media. So there's a different relationship there. I think
Hmm.
it's very important for the school to understand the psyche of parents in all these different stages
Hmm.
and involve the parents in what goes on with the child in school. A lot of open communication is very important. A lot of regular interaction with the parent is important.
Hmm.
And a lot of us come from privileged backgrounds and privileged schools where parents, when they're called, they do go for parent teacher meeting. But I do know that there are many schools where the parents may not have studied beyond class 7, 8, and they feel they're challenged to go to the school and talk to the teacher. They feel inadequate and they don't
Hmm.
turn up. So a lot of times it's very difficult for the teacher to reach out to the parent. And this is where, when I was studying at Harvard Business School, there's a program that most schools, the government schools in the US, they have. It's called a parent outreach program.
Hmm.
And it's so interesting that the teachers actually have it as part of their role to go and visit the homes of these children to really understand what happens, whether the child is a single parent child, whether they have a broken home, whether they are staying with a grandparent, whether they are comfortable or not. It doesn't happen in India yet, but this is a very important part of the elementary school functioning in the US. So they involve the parents. And so in India as well, as we go along, at every stage, the involvement of the parents needs to be understood. You need to transition from one to the other and involve them and get feedback because it's not parent versus student at any stage. And, at any point, even if the parent feels that no, the school is not good enough, and they get into an antagonistic mode. Parents
Hmm.
always need to remember that the school is the second home of the child, and any kind of comments against the school is very hurtful to any child. A child doesn't want
Hmm.
to hear. So if you have taken a decision and put your child in that school, you have to make it work. And if you're really unhappy, then it's always good to take the child out and put the child in another school where you are happy and the child is happy. But if you are going to continue there, then that relationship, it's like a marriage of 15 years, from nursery to class 12, 15 years, where it's really important at every stage, the school and the parent needs to work together.
Right. And once the parent knows what's going on in the school and has a open communication with the teacher, then I think it becomes easier for the parent also to kind of help the child in
Yeah.
her development, other than academics as well.
Yes.
What would you recommend a parent to look at when he or she is looking for a school for their children?
Well, I have seen in the past a lot of people go for the brand name because they feel being in a good school with a good brand makes a difference.
Hmm.
Yes, it definitely does, right? However, there are new age schools also that put in a lot of effort to develop a child.
Hmm.
So it becomes difficult whether you want to choose between a top brand school, which has been around for 100 plus years, or a new age school. I would always say, look at your own family values. Look at what you want for your child. Look at what you cannot give your child and you expect the school to give your child.
Hmm.
And if you look at the school as an extension of your home, you will be able to choose that. So I would give as an example, if I'm a working mother, my husband's also working, we travel a lot, my child would be able to go to school and come back, say, in a school bus. But I would want my child to learn tennis or learn swimming or learn debate or theater, and I don't have the time and the bandwidth to take him to multiple classes. Then I would want to put him in a school where the school gives him all these opportunities.
Hmm.
And therefore, the school becomes complementary to what I want. Or I, as a parent, feel that religious study is very, very important. And I would want my child to learn the religion, and I would want my child to learn the practices of, say, a particular community. Then I will choose a school accordingly where these practices are taught. Because, for example, I may believe that I have to do Saraswati Puja, because for me
Hmm.
that's important for knowledge. Now, if I
Hmm.
put my child in a school that don't do it, my child will
Hmm.
not do that. My child will not imbibe that value. So I need to put my child in a school where they do celebrate Saraswati Puja in a way that I want to do it. So if it's an extension of home, it makes sense. So let's not
Hmm.
go with what other people tell you. And yes, you do your feedback and all of that. But ultimately, remember, the school has to complement you, and it has to complement your child and build your child up with the right values. At the end of the day, being a good human being is the first and foremost important thing which every school aspires to.
Absolutely. And that is what I think at the back of the mind, the parents also aspire. They could be going after academic excellence and job prospects and everything. But at the end of the day, if we have a child who's grown up to be a responsible person and a good natured person, I think that's a win-win situation for both the school and the parent. Janet,
Vaishali,
yeah, yeah,
sorry,
go on.
just that you said that, I'd like to share that if we walk into a restaurant, or we walk into a club, or we have an interview, the first thing that strikes us about a person is how pleasant the person is.
Yes.
Does he or she smile and talk? Is she polite? Okay, does
Hmm.
she shake hands nicely? Is she good natured? So these are the things we first look for. So you will never ask a person when you meet them first, hey, how much did you get in maths in class 10? You will never ask that. But you would like
No.
to know whether that person smiles and talks and helps you, if you need some help. That's more important. And yet in school, we aspire only for marks. So
Hmm.
it's important for parents to also understand that the entire personality and the development of an individual is far more important than marks. Because I may be good in maths and someone else may be good in arts and someone else may be good in dancing. And we'll all make our own careers. So there's no competition there. But it's important that what matters is how good I am to you, how well I deal with you, what is my etiquette, how polite I am. I think those are important. And that's where the point you mentioned, this kind of struck me, that what do we
Hmm.
look for? We don't look for marks. We look at whether you smile and say hello to me.
Right, right. Jared, let's talk about teachers now, because there are lots of teachers today who are watching us. And thank you for joining all of us. And I mean, I think everybody's saying good evening and good evening to everybody. Um, Janet, teachers are the pillars of schools education. Um, Now, how does a school leader devise strategies or plan uh, development programs for teachers? How often should a school bring in a professional development course or a resource person for significant development of teachers? And do you also keep milestones there, or should that be kept?
Yeah. So one of the things I learned being in the corporate sector was CV value. CV value.
Mm. Mm.
And that means everything everything that I do in my career must add value to my CV,
Mm.
and it should make me a better professional. And adding CV value happens from two sides. It happens from the individual and it happens from the organization I work in.
Mm.
And therefore, As an individual, the teachers would add their own CV value by doing their own research and their own knowledge upgradation. And there are many teachers I know who will do a BA and after that a MA or a MCOM and so on and so forth. But as a school, I personally believe that it's very important for me to provide opportunities for my teachers to build their CV value. And I'm giving my personal example because I do not really know what goes on in the mind of most schools. But yes, I'm sure this is there. There's one part of it which the council of ICSE, ISC also drive. So the council has workshops on a regular basis so that teachers can enhance their subject matter skills. And those workshops are open to all schools and all principals send individuals from their school to attend it. So that's one part of the development. The other part of the development, which I believe is as important, is the ability for the teacher to enhance the skills of teaching, not the subject knowledge, but the teaching, the process. And today with technology, can I help them to enhance using different tools and techniques to make learning more fun? Learning shouldn't be rote. Child should understand, child should enjoy. So that's one part which we focus on. And yes, resource persons coming in is really important. And the last part is, which I already mentioned earlier, that the management and the administrative skills are very important. That doesn't really mean every teacher has to run outside and do an MBA. No, that's not it. What is, once you come from a teacher's position to a coordinator or a headmaster, headmistress position and principal, you need to acquire new skills. And I term that a shift from managing yourself to managing others. So the skills to manage ourselves, we all know, and teachers all know. But skills to manage others is what we as school leaders need to help our teachers build. And the challenge in this is actually very, very high because at one point, we are all teachers, we're all together. And suddenly one person moves up and becomes a so-called leader, and then everyone reports to him, a lot of resistance happens. So how to deal with the resistance and yet how to ensure that you can be a leader and you can run the administration appropriately. These skills are not easy to come by. And therefore, building these skills throughout and make sure that your teachers build CV value till the day they retire is what makes them stick to your organization and what gives them a lot of motivation that, yes, I can do better tomorrow what I did today, or I can do better today what I did yesterday. So those are the important parts about teacher development that every school does focus on, and we for sure do. And that's where, I believe bringing in resource persons or exposing them to a lot of online learning that's available or sending them to workshops is the right way to do it.
But do you also kind of measure, just like you were saying that you measure results that children come with, do you also measure the skills that teachers bring to the table?
Well, in our school, we do. I'm not sure how many other schools do it. Again, this is imbibed from the corporate world. What is very well known in the corporate sector as a performance management system. That is something that we run in our school. It's not an intimidating process. It's a very simple developmental process based on the objectives. Everyone has got objectives for the year, and teachers write their own objectives. And during the year, we have the leaders of the school, maybe the coordinators or the headmistress, headmaster, they do observations and they interact with the teachers and they measure them. So on certain parameters, how have they moved the needle? Have they been able to develop their skills? So we do measure skills. At the same time, we also look at the results of students, because if a teacher is good, then your students' results will also improve. And it's not only the bright ones. Yes, the bright ones were getting 90, they'll get 95. But it's important to see whether the entire class is getting over 70, 75, 80% marks. that is the mark of a good teacher.
Right. Great. Thank you. I mean, I think when you get numbers, you're more sure of what your targets could be and how much effort you need to put to reach to that target. Let us talk about these new age schools. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
It quantifies it.
It quantifies it. Yes, yes. Now let us look at the new age schools. So as you say, this whole thing of first, let us talk about homeschooling. What do you think about homeschooling? Because after this entire pandemic situation, there are many parents who are now thinking, especially who have younger children, like from the ages 7 to 12. They're contemplating on continuing with homeschooling. What are your thoughts on that?
On one hand, so let me clarify. Homeschooling here is not just online classes. Homeschooling means the child learns everything at home.
Yes.
So, on one hand, homeschooling in India is not as evolved as it is in the rest of the world. So the opportunities in India for homeschooling are tough. That's one. While homeschooling, you could always customize your program to the particular child and the interests of the child, because homeschooling is something that was prevalent even when we read the novels of Jane Austen and
Yes.
Charles Dickens. There was a lot of homeschooling then. And even the royal family, most of them have a certain amount of homeschooling. But for homeschooling, you really need good tutors. And whether it's the parent or it is the tutor and the kind of time they would be able to give the child, I think those are important. I personally am not a fan of homeschooling for one reason, and that is one of the key reasons why children go to school is to learn social skills, to learn
Yes.
how to interact with other children, how to behave with other children, how to behave with elders and younger people. And that skill is extremely important. Sadly, I am seeing a little bit of erosion in those social skills in the generations below us, because other than school, interaction is very limited and they are always stuck behind a TV or a mobile phone or video games, and playing with kids outside, football or any other kind of games or any kind of social interaction is on the decline.
Yes, it is.
So homeschooling completely does away with this social skill. And or maybe a parent can argue that, oh, I have membership in clubs and my child can go there, but the kind of interaction you have there is a capsule. It's a different kind of interaction. It's not continuous. So certain aspects like handling getting bullied or getting ragged, or etiquette, or developing relationships over time, these kind of things are only possible if you're there in school. And that's why even today, as we've been nearly 1 year in a lockdown, I think children are dying to come back to school. Teachers want their children
Yes.
to come back. And the other day, I met a parent whose child is in class 6 or 8 in one of my schools. And he told me, ma'am, when is the school going to reopen? So I said, we're just waiting for the state government's directive and accordingly. He said, ma'am, I just cannot manage my child at home anymore. He really wants to go back. He really wants to see his friends. So yes, so I think that social angle of it will be missing in homeschool.
And nowadays we also have schools which are more bent towards experiential learning, where the curriculum is also developed differently from regular K-12 schools that we have studied in. There's a lot of uh, extracurricular activities that go on, and lot of new strategies and new methods of teaching that is kind of looked at. So how do you see this? Kind of how can we balance this out for schools which are like old schools, have been running for generations now? How can a school which has been running for generations bring this aspect of experiential learning into their system?
So this is something that we have been doing for the last few years, and
Hmm.
I wouldn't say that we've achieved it, but we are there. We are moving towards that. There are quite a few schools who are known to be extracurricular schools, and there are certain schools
Hmm.
who are known to be academic schools. So,
Hmm.
for those who are known to be extracurriculars, which is what we are, one of the things that can be done, or what we are also doing, is to identify very early, maybe class 4, 5, 6, what the child likes to do.
Hmm.
And you will see their orientation towards singing or dancing or poetry, elocution, sports, art. You will see some of that budding when they are in class 4, 5, 6.
Hmm.
And it's important for school to nurture that. Now, some schools would want to have teachers on their curriculum, or rather on their roles, where they would ensure and encourage the child to learn maybe yoga or karate or art, etc. But not all schools would have the opportunity or affordability to do that. I think what's important is that if we are able to identify that, because the child spends so much time in school, and then
Hmm.
have a conversation with the parent, wherever possible, if the child can be developed further with an external trainer, or have a tie up, the school can have a tie up and get in someone who talks about drama or sports, football or cricket, and have a tie up and have students who can build a career, or can pursue this. That itself is very would be helpful. And here
Hmm.
again, I'm reminded that earlier this week on Monday, one of my two schools, we inaugurated uh, our first ever annual sports online. So every year we have it on the field. This time it was done online. So a little bit on the field and the rest of it offline. And we had an Olympian who was there, a coach, Olympian coach, who was the chief guest. And he mentioned, he said, just look at those children. They're so good in gymnastics, and they are so good in yoga or whatever. He says, what do you as a school leader do after this? Do you just clamp it all down and let them study? So,
Hmm.
we were thinking, and we were saying, yes, this needs to be nurtured. He said, this is the problem in our country. School leaders see that and then do not nurture it forward. Gymnastics is an Olympic sport. If you can push that child to continue and don't get bogged down by marks, maybe that child will bring a gold in the Olympic Games. But we as leaders need to identify and then find a way to help that child to develop it, either through an internal faculty or through some kind of association with a
Hmm.
gymnastics association or a
Hmm.
football or tennis association.
Um, you said you were talking about this program that you have launched for the 12 standards, which is preparing them for college and a new life that they will go into. Tell us a little bit about that program, and what goes on in conceptualizing it, and how do you go about doing the program?
So we have termed this program Future Ready.
Hmm.
And this program is now 3 years old in our school, maybe a little more than that. This was a learning where I saw my own son when he was in class 9 and 10, and a lot of his friends, everyone floundering what subjects they would study, what choice will they take in class 11, which college would they go to. And a lot of parents, a lot of my friends that I also met, even they were not very sure that what kind of future can my child pursue. And
Hmm.
that's when, my husband and I, we thought that we are observing the child from class 6. Why can't we help the parent and give them some sort of ideas to what direction the child can take? So
Hmm.
that's one part, the identification. The other part is that can we do some interventions that will raise the awareness of the child and the parent of what is out there, and that careers of yesterday are not necessarily careers of tomorrow, and there are new careers which we didn't even know about, like
Hmm.
animation, gaming were not options when we were in school, right?
No, yeah, no.
So parents don't even know about these options. So how do we do that? And the third part was building our children to have certain uh, college ready skills, right?
Hmm.
So I'll talk about the middle section first. What were the interventions that we did? One of the major interventions that we did, and we are possibly one of the only schools in Eastern India, I don't know about the North and South, that run career fairs for students of class 8 upwards. So
Okay.
it's very known that there are career fairs which are done for the college level after class 12, career fairs where you want to study. But we do it from class 8, where I get professionals to come and speak on their careers and
Hmm.
also guide, and we have career counselors who guide the children as to how you can choose a career in the future. So this year, our career fair was the third year and it was online. It's very
Hmm.
interesting that the career counselor who spoke, she said it's very important for you to see what you love doing, what's your passion, what subject you're good at, and what the world needs. If you can bring these three together, you will be able to create a career which is your passion and you will love it. Money will follow.
Yeah.
Now, these are advices that you and I didn't get when we were in school. And similarly, we had someone from Silicon Valley talking to students about how you can be a budding IT professional. We had someone who works with the World Bank who talked about careers in international relations. We had someone talk about careers in psychology. We even
Hmm.
had someone talk about careers in films, a makeup artist, interior designer. We even had a bartender who's one of the top 100 bartenders in the world talking about careers in food and beverage. So when someone from the profession talks about, what I did to achieve my career, this itself motivates the children. Oh, we had an army officer, and his session went on for 1 hour. So kids get motivated when they hear all this, and otherwise they don't know. And so this is the kind of intervention that we do, and we conduct multiple other interventions where, for example, the police commissioner will come in and talk to the students. So everyone knows
Hmm.
the police commissioner of your city, but when he comes and talks to you about the career and civil services over a cup of tea and motivates you to join and says, look, it's not as tough as you think, the children, I saw them, they were wide-eyed, they were so impressed. And the police commissioner said, if you ever need it, just come and call me and tell me you're from this school and you can come and meet me. These are things that children really like. So
Hmm.
that's the intervention for future ready. And we build various skills like how to address failure. We all know how to handle success, but how do you manage failure? We have grooming skills so that children know how to groom themselves, email writing skills. We have spoken English classes. We start spoken English from class 4 till class 9, class 8.
Hmm.
So children know that, how they need to really speak correctly with poise and confidence. It's a very big thing today, the ability to
Yes.
speak. So these are the interventions. And to come to the last part, how do you identify that? We are using a technology-based system in-house where we capture the achievements and success of a child from class 6. And then when they come to class 9, we can trend it and we can give the parents some sort of a map to say that, look, your child is very good in these two subjects, or your child is very good in this extracurricular. From class 6 to class 9, they've won prizes. Think of a career in this direction. So we have career counselors that guide them. So I think this is really important as an intervention to help the child pick the right subjects and to be able to follow their dreams and go into a college of their choice and be happy, most importantly.
I think this is a very, very important um, idea to bring into school at the school level, and kind of help children look at themselves. It's like a mirror to yourself, right? Where you are looking at yourself objectively for the first time and trying to see, yourself um, in context to the world, and which is very important because you rightly said, Janet, we never thought about that. We just do a couple of occupations that we could get ourselves involved with, Either we could become a lawyer or a doctor or an engineer, and half of us did not know what an engineer does. We knew what a doctor does, but what does an IT professional do? So I think this is something that all schools should look at and keep working at. I think we have come to an end of our conversation, Janet. So let us now wait for everybody to type their questions. If you have any question that you would like to ask, if you're planning to start a new school, if you are planning to enhance whatever you're doing at your school, please do ask your question. Or you can ask any other random question about schools, and we would be happy to take that. Janet, as they are writing down their questions, I have a very important question. Where do you place drama and theatre in the whole upbringing and grooming of your children?
So personally, my children, very, very high. You know that. Very high, because that is one of the ways to express yourself. And there's just so much that you learn out of drama. I'm saying that because as a youngster, I was trained in it. I even did commercial productions when I was in school and college, and I understand the value of it. In our school, we do have drama, but I will acknowledge not in the scale that I would like it to be. There are small parts of it where children are asked to perform, or children are skills are developed from either speaking, expressions, body language, elocution, that kind of aspect. Yes, we do have concerts. Yes, we do have all of that. But the what you and I understand as theater, it's really difficult to build that in a school. However, having said that, drama per se in school is extremely important, because you learn, it's like sport. You learn so many other skills. You learn the ability to work with others. You learn the ability to coordinate with people. You learn the discipline of preparation and practice. You learn how to express yourself facially, bodily, verbally. You learn all those skills of bringing words to life. And these are skills, and of course, there are messages that can be given. So, as my school, and I know there are many schools, because I have been following what used to be called the British Council plays at one time. Now it's become the pattern play. I've been following that. Our schools have been part of it. Giving the child an opportunity to get into this, if they have the passion for it, is definitely extremely important, because you can learn out of it and learn for life.
What I've also observed, Janet, is when we look at drama, we often think about theater, where we are performing on stage. But what I've also seen, that drama is a powerful tool to kind of engage not just with an audience through performance, but also to engage with your own self. There's a lot of self-discovery that the child goes through, even if she is not performing on stage, but just doing classroom drama, that she discovers many things that she thought she never had. And that's something that I can vouch for, because I myself have discovered many things that I thought I never had, and that happened through drama. Can you share something, because you are in theater? Can you share something that you discovered about yourself while you were preparing or doing just regular classroom drama while you were growing up?
So before I share about myself, I'll share an anecdote about, you said about how a child discovers themselves. I'll share a different anecdote. During the lockdown, our teachers were preparing different ways to engage with children. And our teachers who teach at the pre-primary level, we use the Montessori method there. Some of them sent in their videos, and they came to me to have a look. Maybe some of those teachers are here. I don't know whether they're attending. But I was so amazed to see the amount of drama the teachers were putting in a song or in a nursery rhyme, with actions and expressions and all sorts of things to engage the child. And even that is drama. of teaching a poem normally, teaching it in with a lot of actions and everything, the child learns to do the same thing. And when you learn with song, you learn with rhythm. There is, oral, optic learning, and the ability to remember it becomes
And there's
much
muscle memory also develops.
muscle memory that develops. And I was so impressed to see my teachers do that. And I realized that most of the teachers who teach at the pre-primary level, they just flow into this. The ability for them to sing and dance and engage with the child is amazing. My own discovery, I think I would say this was one of the first plays that I did. I was the evil stepmother in the play. And I was not the first choice for that role. I mean, very strangely, I was actually cast to be the godmother. And finally, they put me into the evil stepmother. So I don't know why the director did it, but maybe I understood later that somehow I have the ability to bring out negative characters a lot more expressively than one of the goody characters. And I realized that's the subsequent plays that I did do. Uh, I think the bringing out the evil character is a lot more challenging and needs a lot more emotion, and completely changes you from what you are in real life. And that is acting. If I'm myself on the stage, that's not acting. That's not drama. Can I do something different? So I discovered that I have the ability to completely change. I have the ability to get into character and do something different. So today I can be a mom, tomorrow I can be a school leader, then I can be a wife, I can be something else. So, yes, I think that was my interesting discovery.
All right. We do not have any question right now, so I'll ask you my question. What do you think was your biggest learning as a school leader? I mean, since you've joined and you've been running this, and have you faced any failure that has brought you to some kind of understanding?
So, I would say the biggest learning that I have had is that a school leader is nothing without the team of management and the team of teachers. So, as a school leader, I can strategize, I can think, I can come up with ideas. But if I have to implement them, and if I have to reach every child, and if I have to reach every parent of every child, unless I have that full team backing me up, it is not going to happen. And I think every school leader would feel the same way, because on my own, I'm not able to do anything. Because think of the number of parents and children and how different each one of them are. And I already explained from pre-primary to class 12 how they're different. So that's my biggest example. And I will vouch for it. One of the reasons why I would like to call myself as a relative success, not really a grand one, is because of the huge team that stands behind me in order to deliver. I think that's my biggest learning from this. You asked me about failure. I wouldn't say failure, but I will call it challenge. There have been multiple challenges in doing this. One big challenge I will say is communication. If you have to implement something, it has to be really well communicated till the last mile. Whether it is communicated to children, to teachers, to parents, to anyone. And this is a huge challenge in schools because you don't have an infrastructure where you can communicate to everyone. You have teachers who are busy teaching children during class hours. It's not like an organization where everyone's sitting in front of a laptop and you send an email and they get it. Here, even if they have an email, they don't see it till the end of the day, right? Their mobiles are not always with them because they are teaching children. So communicating to them, getting the information to the last mile, even parents who are not always engaged with the school, who are not on social media, who are not as educated as we would expect, parents to be, given from the backgrounds we are, how to reach them,
Hmm.
how to involve them, how to involve the last one into something. I think that is the challenge. And I would say that there are times that we've done well, and there are times that we have failed because we've not been able to communicate to the last mile.
Hmm. I understand. Communication is difficult. I think this is a challenge everywhere, not just with you, but reaching out to parents at the right time is something which really is a big task, especially when you have so many students to take care of.
Yes.
We have almost come to an end. I have Barindra Brahmachari, and he is writing. He's just sharing what he's doing with his children while teaching The Merchant of Venice for classes 9th and 10th, The Tempest for classes 11th and 12th. We make our children dramatize short roles and recite important dialogues. We teach them to empathize with various characters in the plays. I think, one thing that theater teaches you is compassion. Drama teaches you is empathy, and I think that's the reason we get more tuned in to our own selves when we are playing a role. Thank you, Barindra, for sharing that. Nupur Purakaste is asking, how important is the role of soft skill in a leader?
Extremely important, without which you can't have a leader.
And what would be that soft skill, the most important soft skill?
I think one of the most important skills a leader should have is vision.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you want to lead, you need to know where you want to go. And without that, what are other people following for?
Mm-hmm.
So building that vision is really important, and taking your people along with you in that vision. There's a common saying that if you want to, walk fast, walk alone. But if you want to walk far, walk together.
Mm-hmm.
So a leader needs to know how to take people along. So as a leader at every level, and she's asked a question about a school leader is not someone who owns the school or runs the school or the principal. I think everyone at every level is a leader. Everyone at every level. So at every level, you need to have a vision. At every level, you need to take people along with you. At every level, you need to interact with a number of people. You need to have empathy. You need to communicate, interpersonal skills. I think these are the mark of a good leader. It's just a simple question. Would I follow this person? If yes, then that's the person you need to be.
Great. Thank you. Oh, there's one more question. I think we can take this. We have 2 minutes. What are your views about the new new educational policy? And Barindra is asking, is soft skills synonymous to interpersonal relationships?
So I'll take Barindra's question first.
Okay.
Interpersonal relationships is one of the many soft skills. So it's not really synonymous, because a soft skill is just the opposite of a technical skill. So a technical skill would be knowledge, but every other skill in order to deliver that knowledge would be a soft skill. So my ability to speak, my ability to have vision, my ability to use technology, my ability to interact with people, all of that would be soft skills. So any skill that helps you deliver your main skill is a soft skill. The other question was on the
what are your views? Yeah, education policy. Yeah.
Very political question. Personally, I think the new education policy is a way forward, because it really talks about not just developing academics, but also developing the other curriculum, like we talked about. So there is a little bit more structure that has been put into it, as to how students need to develop other capabilities, and that needs to be built into the curriculum. Yes, implementing the NEP is going to be a challenge, because every school has to do it differently. I think we have a long way to go. but somewhere, I think we are in the right direction. In fact, here I will share a quick story. I don't know whether we have time, but a friend of mine in the same sport that I play, he's an India player. In fact, he's the number 4 India player, and he's won medals for India. In fact, he won a gold at the Asian Games. So when he returned from one of these, and he used to study in the US. So when he returned from one of these, I think Asian Games or something, he was invited by our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, just to interact and talk. And I asked him, I said, so what is the highlight of your conversation with the Prime Minister? He said that the Prime Minister felt that our education system needs to have a change. And this, I'm talking, I think, 3 or 4 years ago, and the NEP just came out last year. So he said that in the US, the education system focuses on academics as well as sports. So if you have a skill in a particular sport, you can get into a college. You don't necessarily need to be a topper in academics, right? But in India, we don't have the same thing. Our IITs and our IIMs only focus on academics. We don't really look at building the sports skills or the other skills, which other countries do. And that is why you have great rowers who come from Oxford and Cambridge, and you have great tennis players who come out of Stanford and Harvard, along with academicians and Nobel laureates. So his vision at that time was, how can I transition my IITs into something like a Harvard and a Stanford? And I think changing the education system with this NEP is maybe a small step forward in that direction. It could be. I think the proof of the pudding lies in its eating. So let's see how it's implemented and with how much gusto and passion it can be done.
Thank you so much. That's a great note to end our conversation. I'm sorry we cannot take any more questions right now. We are already 2 minutes past 7. But thank you so much, Janet, for coming in and sharing your thoughts, sharing your views. It's very important for us lay people to know what a school, goes through while they're planning and strategizing and bringing education to millions of children across the world. Thank you so much, Janet, for your time. And I hope this conversation has kind of helped people who are listening to us today. Have a good night, everybody. And do not forget to like and subscribe our channel. We do this every week. And this is just to bring parents, teachers, schools, and everybody who's related and working with children together on one platform and look at the child as a human being. Thank you. Thank you so much, Janet, and good night to you.
Thank you, Vaishali. Thank you so much.